bodybuilding rivalries. Will we ever see anything like we did between Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman? That's exactly what I'm going to talk about on today's episode. What's up, guys? Matt Weik, Weik Fitness. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode. So today, I want to talk about bodybuilding rivalries. What sparked this whole topic was I was watching a video on YouTube from RX Muscle. Dave Palumbo was interviewing both Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman. At the same time, there was a bodybuilding show overseas. They sat down at an expo and they just kind of talked about, when the two of them were competing. Did they drive each other? Did they make each other better? Was there really any other competitor who, could go toe-to-toe with them? Or were they kind of just standing on stage by themselves? So it got me thinking, looking at today's landscape of the bodybuilding industry, will we ever see a rivalry like we did between Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman? And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think so. If we do, it's not going to be for several years. Looking at the landscape right now, I don't see enough competitors that are side by side close where every single show that they compete in, they go head to head. So for me, I don't see anybody, having the same type of rivalry. Sure, you have some up and coming newer bodybuilders who like to talk smack and talk trash and, just make a lot of noise. But at the end of the day, they're not winning major bodybuilding shows. So it's hard for me to put them in the same category. But yet, along the same lines, you could look at competitors like Ronnie Winkler, Cedric McMillan, Sean Roden, Phil Heath, anybody, William Bonac, Big Ramy. I mean, you could put all of the top 5 competitors that are, in the Olympia, stand them side by side. And even though every single Olympia, they're somewhere jockeyed around in that top 5, regardless of their placings, there's never really a rivalry. It's not like where Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler were, first and second place at just about every Olympia. It's just not the case. I mean, sure, we had guys like Phil Heath and Kai Green. I would say that was probably the closest thing to a rivalry that we've seen since Jay and Ronnie. But I don't see, Phil having a rivalry with Sean Roden. Do I think Phil deserved to lose the 2018 Olympia? Yeah, I don't think he brought a total package. Sean Roden looked great. There were a couple other competitors who looked great. In fact, I could have potentially had Phil even as far back as 3rd in the 2018 Olympia. But, Ramy's hit or miss. That dude can't hit his conditioning to save his life. Bonac is pretty, stable with how he looks on stage. He's kind of like Dexter, where he kind of brings the same package every time. That's neither good nor bad, but there's really nobody in any of the lineups today that I can look at and say, maybe there's some type of rivalry that could go on between this person and that person. Ronnie Winkler is, so-called the people's champ. He won the award at the 2018 Olympia, and because the fans love him. He's a freak, he's funny, he likes to have fun, he's charismatic, and, that's what I think bodybuilding needs. But I think bodybuilding right now needs some type of rivalry so that going into a show, you have at least a little bit of excitement. Like, back when Ronnie and Jay were on stage, man, you were like, man, is Jay going to finally win it this year? They hop on stage, I think Jay's going to win. Then you have the crowd who's like, no way, Ronnie's going to win. And it went back and forth. These days, you might as well just throw everybody's names up in the air and just grab one and then look at it and say, oh, okay, I think this person's going to win. Because it's so, I don't want to say so close because it's not, but anybody in the top 5 can move up or down any given day, any given contest, any given, Olympia, whatever. I mean, you look at Rami, some years it looks like Rami could have won the Olympia, and then there's some years where it doesn't even look like he should have been in the top 5. You can look at guys like Cedric McMillan. If you go to the Arnold Classic and you see Cedric, you think, wow, this dude has an amazing physique. He should be going to the Olympia and placing well. But he doesn't bring the same package to the Olympia for some reason. It's almost like in the beginning of the year when he's prepping for the Arnold, everything's running on, all cylinders. But once you get later in the year and you're out at the Olympia, it's like the wheels fall off. There's just nobody good who I could say there's going to be a rivalry. You have guys like Nathan Diasha who, he talks so much smack. Likewise, you have Sergio Oliva Jr. He likes to talk smack. Could those two potentially be rivalries? Sure, if they want to create it amongst themselves. But at the end of the day, they're not winning these major shows. So you really can't say that that's going to be a rivalry in today's bodybuilding world. You would have to literally be, fighting and jockeying for that first and second spot. Neither of those competitors are doing that. I mean, look, we're not talking about the New York Pro here. Nobody's going to say, oh, well, there's a rivalry just because two competitors go to the New York Pro and place first and second, and they, they're yakking back and forth talking smack. That's not going to do it. You need to have consecutive shows where they're jockeying for that first and second position. If Phil would come back in 2019, which I don't think he is, he could prove me wrong. But I think personally Phil needs to take all of 2019 off, regroup, completely recover from surgery, and come back in 2020 or even 2021 and try and take back the Olympia title. Do I think Sean Roden will stay Mr. Olympia? No, I don't. I think Phil was off enough that it opened the door for somebody in 2018, and it just so happened that Sean nailed it. Do I think Bonac could potentially be an Olympia winner one of these years? Yeah, I do. Could Rami, who's now working with Neil Hill, could he come into the Olympia and knock off Sean Roden? Absolutely. It's anybody's opportunity who shows up on that given day, especially with Phil out. But just going back, at the end of the day, there's nobody who's going to walk on that Olympia stage or nobody who's going to walk on that Arnold Classic stage and is going to create a rivalry. There's too much change in the winners for all of these different shows. I mean, you have one guy winning the Arnold. You have one guy winning the Pittsburgh Pro. You have one guy winning the New York Pro. You have one guy winning the Olympia. And then obviously you have all of the Arnolds across the globe, not just the Arnold in Columbus, Ohio. You have the shows, following the Olympia. You have Prague and all of these various shows. But at the end of the day, there are pretty much different people winning all of them because a lot of the main guys are kind of cherry picking where they want to enter. I mean, obviously they all want to train and get ready for the Olympia, so a lot of them will bow out of some of those early shows, early in the year, early in the season, just so that they can prep for the Olympia. And then maybe they'll do a couple of the shows following the Olympia because they're already dieting down, so it just makes sense. But there is nobody who's standing up on stage these days that will ever compare to a Ronnie and Jay rivalry. That's just my opinion, but prove me wrong. I would love to open up, the content and get some feedback and get your thought on this topic. I mean, feel free, reach out on social media at Weik Fitness. You can reach out to me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can go over to the website, weikfitness.com, leave me a message. You can, send me a messenger message right from the website. You can email me directly from the website. I would love to hear your thoughts because at the end of the day, I just don't see it. Right now, and I can only speak, for myself, but I find bodybuilding to be extremely boring. There's no rivalries. There's nothing really going on. There's a lot of, smack talking going on from competitors who mean absolutely nothing really because they're not Olympia contenders. They're not top bodybuilders in the world. That doesn't mean that they're not good bodybuilders. They're just not the elite. But I would love to open this up to you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think that there will ever be another Ronnie and Jay rivalry like we saw back in the early 2000s? I don't see it. I just don't. We had the Phil and Jay rivalry, and then we had, the Phil and Kai rivalry, but since then, there's really nothing. So, I would love your feedback. Who do you think could potentially start a rivalry? Especially if Phil isn't, going to be competing anytime soon. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. Please subscribe, whether it's on iTunes or YouTube. You can listen to it over on the website, weikfitness.com. Click on content and then podcasts. You can listen right there. But I appreciate all of you. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. And I hope to catch you guys on the next episode.